Welcome to lecture on algebra and number theory. In this video, let us discuss cosets and Lagrange's theorem. First, we shall see what is coset. Let H be a subgroup of a group G. Then, for each A belonging to G, the set denoted by AH, which is the collection of all the elements AH such that H belongs to H, is called the left coset of H in G. And the set HA is equal to set of all HA such that H belongs to H is called the right coset of H in G. We may note that these two sets will be equal when you are considering a abelian group. That is, AH will be equal to HA for all A belonging to G if the group considered is abelian group. Let us discuss some example. Consider the symmetric group S3, which is given by the set of all elements E, R1, R2, F1, F2 and F3. Its Cayley table is given by this format. Here you may note that the subset H is equal to E, R1 and R2. This alone form a subgroup of the symmetric group S3. From this Cayley table itself, we can see that these elements, when multiplied with each other, result in these elements only. H is a subgroup of S3. Then the left cosets of H are obtained as R1H is equal to E, R1, R2. The elements which we have collected are E, R1 and R2. So when you are multiplying R1 with these three elements, so R1 when multiplied with E will have R1. R1 when multiplied with R1 will result in R2. R1 when multiplied with R2 will result in E. That is, the resulting elements, you are taking one particular element from G and multiplying or doing the binary operation on this group itself. So R1 into each of these elements in H results in the elements of H itself. Similarly, when you are finding E into H, then you will have E, R1, R2 only. Similarly, R2 into H will also result in H, elements of H. You can see from this row. R2 into H, the elements of H are these three only. So in this row we can see that R2 when multiplied with each elements of H will result in an element of H alone. Suppose you are considering F1H. That is, F1 is an element of the main group, that is a symmetric group S3. You multiply F1 with each element of H. So F1 into E, F1 into R1, F1 into R2. We are having three elements in H, so you are multiplying F1 with each of the three elements of H. From this table you can see that F1 into E is F1. F1 into R1 is F3. F1 into R2 is F2. So this resulting elements F1H results in the set F1, F3, F2. Similarly, you can find F2H and F3H. You may see that all these three sets are identical. That is, when you are multiplying F1 with H, it results in F1, F2, F3, and F2H also results in F1, F2, F3, and F3H also results in F3, F2, F1, which is the order may be changed, but these sets are equal, that is, they are identical. And you may note that each of these sets has equal number of elements. That is, what number of elements H has, will be the number of elements in any left coset of H. So there are only two left cosets of H in G. That is, one is E R1 R2 and another one is F1 F2 F3. All these three left cosets are equal. So we are having only two left cosets. So here we can note that each of the left coset have equal number of elements, and also you may note that these two left cosets are disjoint. So when you are considering two left cosets, either they are identical or they are disjoint. They don't have any elements in common. Next we shall see example from numbers. Consider the group G is equal to Z12, plus. This is addition modulo 12. And its subgroup H is equal to class 0, class 4 and class 8. You know that this Z12 contains the elements from 0 to 11. That is the class 0, class 1, class 2, etc. up to class 11. And from that set, we have collected 3 elements, and these 3 elements form a subgroup of G. Now we shall find the left cosets of H in G. First, you are taking an element from H itself. From H means you are having 0 here. So 0 plus H will be 0, 4 and 8. As H is a subgroup, you take any element from this set and you operate on these elements. It will result in that H, the set H itself. So you may note that 4 plus H is also this H. So 4 plus 0 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8 and 4 plus 8 is 12, which is equal to 0 with respect to this addition modulo 12. Similarly, you can find that 8 plus H is also equal to this same set H. Now we shall find the other left cosets. You may note that the set Z12 contains the elements 0 and then 1. So we shall find 1 plus H. 1 plus H is equal to 0 plus 1. You are going to add this 1 with each of the elements of H. So 1 plus 0 is 1, 1 plus 4 is 5 and 1 plus 8 is 9. So these 3 elements you have obtained. Next we shall find what is 2 plus H. Similarly, you add 2 with each element of this H. It will result in 2, 6 and 10. Similarly, 3 plus H is class 3, class 7 and class 11. Now you may note that 4 plus H is equal to 0 plus H and 5 plus H will result in the same left coset of 1 plus H. This you can verify and we shall confirm this. 5 plus 0 is 5, 5 plus 4 is 9 and 5 plus 8 is 13, which is equivalent to class 1 with respect to addition modulo 12. A plus H and B plus H will be equal when A and B belongs to the same left coset of H. Similarly, you can find that all these elements when added with H, that is the left cosets 6 plus H and 10 plus H are equal, 7 plus H and 11 plus H are equal to 3 plus H. So you may note that there are 12 elements in Z12 and the whole set Z12 is partitioned into 4 left cosets of H. As in the previous example, in this example also you may note that these left cosets are disjoint and have equal number of elements. So G is partitioned like this: H union 1 plus H union, 2 plus H union, 3 plus H. Next we shall see a lemma, 2 lemmas which are required to prove Lagrange's theorem. First one, if H is a subgroup of the finite group G, then any 2 left cosets of H have equal number of elements. This we have seen in the previous two examples, but let us prove in the general case. So you are considering a finite group G and a subgroup H. Then we have to prove that any two left cosets of H have equal number of elements. Proof. Given H is a subgroup of a finite group G. You consider two elements A and B in G. Then our aim is to prove that order of AH, that is the number of elements in AH, is equal to the number of elements in BH. For this, it is enough to prove that order of AH is equal to H. That is because if order of AH equal to H and order of BH equal to H, then of course order of AH will be equal to order of BH. So to prove that any two sets have equal number of elements, we shall prove that there is a one-to-one correspondence between those two sets. For that, first let us define one function f from H to AH by f of H is equal to AH for all H belonging to H. So for each and every element of H, you define f of H to be AH, A multiplied with H. Then if you take two elements H1 and H2 in capital H, then if f of H1 is equal to f of H2, then by the definition of f, you will have AH1 equal to AH2. So all these elements belong to the group G, and in group we have left cancellation law. These two elements are equal, so A can be cancelled, so we will have H1 is equal to H2. So we have taken two images to be equal and found that the pre-image is also equal for this function f. So the function f is one-to-one function. Also the function f is onto function, which we can verify using this. That is, you take one element in the codomain AH. The codomain AH, that is the left coset of H, will have all the elements of this form AH. So this corresponding to this AH, there exists H belonging to the domain H such that f of H is equal to AH. So the function is onto function. So we have found f to be a one-to-one function from H onto AH. Therefore, order of H is equal to order of AH. Next we shall see another lemma which is required for the proof of Lagrange theorem. If H is a subgroup of the finite group G, then any two left cosets are either disjoint or identical. So we shall prove this. So it is given that H is a subgroup of a finite group G. So here our aim is to prove that two left cosets are either disjoint or identical. So for that you have to take two elements from G. So let A and B belongs to G. To prove that the left cosets AH and BH are either identical or disjoint. Suppose we assume that they are not disjoint. If they are disjoint, then no problem, the proof is over. Suppose they are not disjoint, then they will have one element in common. Means their intersection is not empty, means they will have one element in common. Let that element be C. That is, C belongs to AH intersection BH. This implies C belongs to AH also and C belongs to BH also. So if C exists in AH, then there will be an element H1 in H such that C is equal to AH1. Similarly, C will be equal to BH2 for some other element H2 in H. So C belongs to these two sets AH and BH. So C can be written like this. C is equal to AH1 as well as C is equal to BH2. So from this we can write C H1 inverse is equal to A. That is, you are post multiplying by H1 inverse means here you will have H1 into H1 inverse as E. So A into E, that will be equal to A. or when you bring this H1 to the left side, then it will become H1 inverse. Similarly, you can write CH2 inverse is also equal to B. Now our aim is to prove that AH is equal to BH, because we have taken that they are not disjoint. So we have to prove that they are identical. So for that we should prove that AH is equal to BH. For that, regularly when you are considering two sets and claim that they are equal, you have to prove that one set is contained in the another and the next set is contained in the first set. So likewise we shall prove. So first let us consider an element in AH. Let X belongs to AH. Then X can be written as A into H3 for some H3 belongs to H. So our aim is that to prove X belong to BH. So we have to bring B here. For that, what can we use? Already we have written A to be in form of C. So A can be replaced by C into H1 inverse. C H1 inverse into H3. But the C can be written in terms of B. So this is equal to B into H2 into H1 inverse H3. This is using the previous 4 equations involving C, B and A, etc. So now we have found this is equal to B into H2, H1 inverse H3. Using the associative law in a group, we can write like this, and we'll, since H is a subgroup and all these H2, H1 inverse H3 all belongs to H, this will be an element of H. You can write it as H4. So we have taken an element X in AH. So we have written like AH3, and we have obtained it to be X equal to BH4, which means X belongs to BH. So AH is contained in BH, or AH is a subset of BH. So similarly we can prove that if Y belongs to BH, then Y can be written in terms of B into some element, so BH5, and it can be replaced using C. That C can be replaced using A, and finally we have obtained Y is equal to A into H6. So Y belongs to AH, hence BH is a subset of AH. So from these two equations you can conclude that AH is equal to BH. So thus we have taken two cosets AH and BH of H, and we have assumed that they are not disjoint. They are not disjoint implies they are identical. Next we shall see Lagrange's theorem. If G is a finite group and H is a subgroup of G, then order of H divides order of G. Let us see the proof. So given G is a finite group and H is a subgroup of G. So obviously H is also finite. So let us collect some elements of G like A1, A2, etc. AK be k distinct elements of G such that the left cosets A1H, A2H, A3H, etc. AKH are disjoint left cosets of H in G. Okay, so you are collecting the only elements for which the left cosets are disjoint. Our claim is that G can be written as the union of all these left cosets. That is, G is equal to union 1 to K AIH. Obviously, when you consider an element in this union, that definitely belongs to the set G. As G is a group, if X belongs to any of this coset, that definitely will belong to G. So this union is contained in G. So take it as equation 1. Now we claim that G is contained in this union. So for that, you take an element x belong to G, and you are going to prove that x belong to that union AIH. So as x belongs to G, x can be written like this: x into E, means E is the identity element of G, then x into E belongs to G. As H is a subgroup, this E belongs to H also. So XE belongs to XH. So E belongs to H, and this E we are writing XE. So XE belongs to the left coset XH, but XE is nothing but X. So X belongs to XH. Since any two left cosets are either disjoint or identical, this XH must be equal to one of those collected AIH. AIH are all left cosets of H. So XH must be equal to one of those AIH. So X belongs to some AJH for some particular J. But X belong to only one of the left coset AIH. So X belongs to union 1 to K AIH. So we have taken one element in G, and we have proved that that element belongs to this union 1 to K AIH. So G is contained in union 1 to K AIH. So from these two equations, we see that G can be written, or G is equal to union 1 to K AIH. Now, this union can be written like this in an expanded form: G is equal to A1H union A2H etc. union AKH. Now, order of G is equal to order of A1H union A2H union etc. AKH. You can see that these sets are disjoint. So, we can write A1H plus modulus of A2H plus etc. modulus of AKH. Since these are disjoint, we can add the number of elements in each of the sets to get the total number of elements in the union of the sets. Now, by the previous lemmas we have proved, we can see that each of these left cosets have equal number of elements as in H. So modulus of A1H, modulus of A2H etc. Each term in this equation is equal to number of elements in H. So how many sets we are having here? We are having K disjoint sets. So this is equal to K times modulus of H. So order of G or modulus of G is equal to K into modulus of H. So order of G divided by order of H is equal to K, an integer, a positive integer. Hence, order of H divides order of G. That is, the order of a subgroup divides order of a finite group.